Let's talk about how you do the Tunisian full stitch. You can use a Tunisian crochet hook if you'd like. I'm just going to be using a regular crochet hook because the square I'm going to be making is not that big. So to start, we're going to start with a slip knot. So we first need to start with a foundation chain, and it doesn't matter the number of chains that you do. So to start out, we're going to be doing Tunisian simple stitch because that is what all Tunisian crochet stitches will start with. If you're not sure how to do that, please watch this video because I am just going to be going over it quickly. So we're going to go into the back bump of this chain, pulling up a loop in every chain across. So now that we have all of our loops pulled up, we're just going to return past like normal. So yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 all the way down. Okay, so now we have our base Tunisian simple stitch row. Tunisian full stitch, for the very first row, we're going to, instead of putting our hook underneath the vertical bars, we're going to be placing our hook in between to the other side. So it's not like Tunisian knit stitch where we go between the strands. We're completely going to go between the two separate stitches that make up the simple stitch. So for the very first row, we're going to skip the first space and go into the second space. Yarn over, pull up a loop. So we're not in the vertical bar, we're in between two. And we're gonna just keep doing that across. So go through to the other side, yarn over, pull through. And do that all the way until we get to the last one. Since we skipped the first one, we're going to do the last one. So we'll just do the very last one, and then we'll do our last Tunisian stitch, which is going through those 2 loops at the end. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Then we're just going to return past like normal. Yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 across. So there is our first row of the Tunisian full stitch. So now, since we skipped the first one for the second row, we're going to go into it. So we're going to go into that first space, yarn up, pull up a loop, and then do that all the way down. And then since we did not skip the first space, we are going to skip the space at the end. So we're not going to be going into this, we're just going to go into the last Tunisian stitch. Pull up a loop. So the amount of loops that you have on your hook should never change count. If it does, that means that you forgot to skip a space either at the beginning or the end. So then we're just going to return past like normal, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2 across. So the Tunisian full stitch just repeats those 2 rows. You'll either skip the first or skip the last. Since the first row we did was skipping the first, we're going to skip it once again. And you can kind of tell, you can look to see which one you skipped in the previous row. You can see that these 2 vertical bars line up together and this one doesn't line up with anything. So that means we don't want to put a vertical bar in this space, but we want to put it here. So that means we're skipping the first one. And the same goes for the end as well. This vertical bar and this vertical bar line up, but this one doesn't have a match up here. So that means we will not be skipping the end space because the end space will create our vertical bar that's going to line up with this guy. So we are skipping the first because there would be nothing to line up with it, but there is something to line up with the second, so we're going to go into that one. And enter your hook between all the vertical bars. So you can see we're lining up with the previous row. So if we got to almost the end, sometimes you might forget if you skipped the first one or not, but a good way is how we talked about. There is a vertical bar here, but nothing that is matching it up top, so that means we need to add one. And you can see these 2 vertical bars line up. and then we'll enter in our last stitch, pull up a loop. One way too to double check if you need to skip or not at the end is you can count all your stitches and make sure it's the right amount of stitches that you are expecting. So we're going to return pass. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2 across. Okay, so there's one more row, and you can now really see what the Tunisian full stitch looks like. I think it looks really similar to a basket weaving, and I think it just looks so pretty. So I'll do one more row of going into the front and skipping the end one, and then we will slip stitch across. Now we can do slip stitch across. So slip stitching across is the same as normal. You're just going to go underneath vertical bar, pull up a loop, and then pull through that loop. And just do that all the way across. And that is how you Tunisian full stitch. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please like and comment down below what other Tunisian crochet tutorials you would like me to do in the future. Thank you for watching!